Hello friends, and welcome back to my kitchen. You know what time it is? We are going to dye some yarn. This week I'm going to be using Drops Baby Merino. And I have got 8 skeins of these. These are 50 grams each. And I got 8, so 400 grams. And what I'm going to do with these is I am going to tie them 2 and 2 together so that I get 100 gram skeins. And I'm going to use my large niddy nutty to skein them up so that I can actually dye them. So hot tip for you, get a niddy nutty, helps you to make skeins. So first I'm going to start off by making 4 skeins of 100 grams each, and then we are going to soak the yarn. All the yarn has been transformed into skeins, and like I said, there are 2 balls of yarn in each of these, so it's 100 gram each, and I'm using the reusable zip ties. So first thing first, I'm going to add a little bit of citric acid. I use citric acid a little bit both in the soaking tub and when I'm dyeing. Not really necessary to do both, but I prefer that. I got 2 measuring cups here with 2 liters of cold water each, so I'm going to add that into the soaking tub as well. There's one, and there is the other. And I'm just grabbing my yarn by the zip ties, and we are going to add it in. Let's see if we can see. Oh, I dropped one. There we go. So I'm just adding them into the tub and pushing them down to make sure they get proper wet, so that the yarn will, or the dye will stick properly. So this is the main reason why we are soaking the yarn. It has to be wet all over, or the dye is not going to stick. It'll rinse out the first time you wash the yarn or the item you made. There we go. Starting to get there. All right. I'm going to let that sit for about half an hour, and then we'll be ready to dye. We are ready to start dyeing. The yarn has been soaking, it's completely wet, and I've set up my tray of tools that I need for my yarn dyeing. Got an old yogurt container that I have filled with just clear cold water. Got a spoon to poke the yarn while dyeing. Probably the most important thing on the tray is the face mask. You don't want to breathe in any of the dye powder. It's a very fine powder. Got some gloves. I have got a couple of teaspoons. Always make sure you don't use the same spoons and things that you have for your cooking when you're cooking food. My whisker that I use to make sure the dye dissolves properly in the water, and I've got in the back here, I've got 2 measuring cups with about 2 cups in each, 2 cups of cold water in each, which I'm going to use to mix the dye in, and then I will be adding in more water and filling it up completely. So, what are we dyeing today? Well, you probably already know, you've seen the thumbnail. But we are going to use Jacquard acid dye in fire red and Jacquard acid dyes in pink. And I am, of course, dyeing strawberry cream. It's strawberry season pretty much anyway where I live. And you know, is there anything better on a hot summer day than strawberries and cream? I love it. So we're going to start off by mixing the dyes, and then we'll be ready to dye the yarn. First off, we put on the mask, very important. Do not want to breathe this in. And I'm going to, let me start with the pink one. And I'm going to, let's see, let's do 1/4 teaspoon-ish, something like that. Might be quite, actually, you know what, let's do a 1/8, because this might be a very powerful color. I'm using my whisker to blend it. Yeah, it's a very powerful pink. Like so. I will be adding some more water to that in a minute, but first we are going to mix the red dye. And we're pretty much doing the same thing here. You see it's a very heavy red. So I'm adding in 1/4 teaspoon. And I'll be mixing that up and filling it up with water. Now we're getting to the fun part. First of all, I add some more citric acid to the pan I'm dyeing in. You don't really need to do this twice like I do. I just playing it safe, I guess. And let's see if we can get these skeins out of the water. There's one. And I just squeeze, let me show. There we go. Just squeeze the water out of it. Mostly to avoid making a big mess. And what I'm doing next is I am twisting it just ever so slightly. Can you see that? And that is to make sure that I get dye all the way around on the skein, and that I also get some white afterwards, because I want there to be some cream as well within our strawberry blend here. There we go. Stove is of course completely cold, which is why I'm daring to put my plastic soaking tub on top of it. Always be careful. And twisting a little bit. Don't want to twist it too hard either, because then you won't be able to get any dye inside of it. All right, let me rearrange things here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Now we are ready to start dyeing, and I have added some more water to the pink color. There's about 2 liters in each of these measuring cups, and here's the red one. So I think I'm going to start pouring from the red one. I'm not sure how much water I will be using. I'm just going a little zigzag over here, like so. You can do this any way you like. I think I'm going to settle for that. I've got a little more, less than half left over. And I'm going to turn on the stove as well. It is, of course, the combination of the dye, the citric acid, and the heat that will set this color. And I'm going to add in some pink as well. I'm going to start off there, and we're going to let it heat up, and we'll take it from there. I'm probably going to add some more pink, but I'm going to let the process get it started before I add some more dye. Pan is starting to heat up, and I'm going to add in a little bit more pink. I don't need too much white. I do want a little bit because cream is white, but also when you make that dessert with strawberries and cream, the cream will be colored pink from the strawberries, the strawberry juice. Something like that. Yeah. We're just going to let it sit and continue to heat up, and I will be turning the pan around to make sure all the water gets hot and that all the yarn gets hot as well, because it needs to heat up everything to set. So I'll just keep moving the pan around, and you don't want the water to boil, it just needs to be really hot. So turn down the stove once you see it's about to boil, because we do want to avoid that. I'm just poking it with a spoon, getting all the dye in there, and as you can see, it's already starting to exhaust. It was bright red when we added it, now it's just pink. And in order to check if everything is getting hot, I don't recommend you do this, but what I do is put on a pair of gloves. These dyes can stain quite a lot, so that's why you want a glove. And I just poke it to see if the water is getting hot. And it is. We're getting there. I need to feel the inside of the yarn as well, since I've twisted it, so I'm poking it a little. Well, we're getting there. Going to continue letting it heat up a little bit more, and then we'll set it aside to cool off. The water has heated up completely. All the skeins are hot. It has also exhausted all of the dye. So what we're doing now is we're going to turn off the heat and set it aside to cool completely, and then we can rinse it. Always make sure that the yarn has cooled completely though before you rinse it. You don't want to shock it. Time to rinse. I will be using soak, which is my go-to for rinsing my dyed yarns. Don't need a lot of it. I do carry this one in the web shop as well, the smaller bottles, if you want to try it. You don't have to have it. You can use dish soap, you can use shampoo, you know, anything you got that you can use to wash hair, basically. Well, you wouldn't wash your hair in dish soap, but you know what I mean. Anyway, it's time to rinse this one, and I have to say I am beyond excited about how this one is looking. So let's start by squishing out some of the water so I don't make a mess here, and I'm just putting it into the rinsing bowl. And as you can see, the water has exhausted. Looks very nice. And the last one. There we So I'm going to get rid of this one. Oops. That was very loud. Apologies about that. I'm just going to use my soaking tub to transfer the yarn to once it is rinsed. You know what? Let me move you a little bit closer. There we go. And I'm just grabbing them by the zip tie. Like so. And dunking it a few times. Squeezing out the water. You gotta make sure you don't wring the water out of the skeins when you're dyeing yarn. So you may damage the yarn, so you just squeeze. And since I'm rinsing once more, I'm not being too particular. Excuse me. Also, if the skein has gotten a little bit tangled, doing this will usually resolve the issue. Tip for you there. And the last one. There we go. There's the slightest pink hue in the water. Okay, now I'm going to pour this out. And I'm going to rinse once more. And then we can hang it to dry. And if you want to use like a salad spinner or something to get more water out of the skeins before hanging them to dry, you can absolutely do that. Just make sure it's not one that you use for food as well. Are you ready for this? Oh, I'm dropping them. Here they are. The result of this week's dyeing adventure, strawberry and cream. And I don't know about you, but I do sure feel like is strawberry and cream for sure. We got our reds, we got our pinks, there's a little bit of white in there. This is pretty much what it looks like. Putting strawberry in cream. Did I say milk? Strawberry and cream. There you go. I am absolutely adoring this color. What do you think? What should I make? A summer top? There's going to be a lot of those in the future, I think. Yeah. So, very happy with how this one turned out. Wasn't very difficult. I hope you get inspired to dye some yarn as well. And I would love to see if you do. So, have fun in the dye pots, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
You got me feeling good, right by your side. Lost in every move, writing down your smile. Baby, hold me tight, let me trace your lies. Keep it low, cause you dropping it down. We gon' boogie to the sun.